What's up, guys? The red light is on. Dave Van Auken, the Dave Van Auken Show with Fight Bananas with family, with the Henderson family. Maria, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. You guys had a good Halloween?
We did. Well, yeah, we did. We kind of stayed home a little bit, but yeah, it was good.
It's so funny. Like everyone's so into Christmas right away. The end of the year is like so much Christmas. But with the boys and we have kids, they're like super into Halloween now. Like they're all into it. Used to kind of be a skippage a little bit, not anymore. They're our boys 4 and 8, so like they're about it. They're Halloween. Yeah. They want the candy.
Well, we are always do Halloween. We try to always do like a family thing. Like I made the Game of Thrones chair this year.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, Ben was Jon Snow and I was Daenerys, and then she was that Ghost, the wolf. And then our other toddler, 2-year-old, he was who was he? He was a dragon, but my other 2 boys wouldn't be dragons for me.
There you go.
They just wouldn't. So,
yeah.
But we're still really into it. We just wanted to. One of my son's kids, or one of my son's school, got COVID in the class.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure that we weren't spreading anything around. So we just kind of stayed home.
No, well, that's awesome. We appreciate that. The world should appreciate that. But all right, let's talk about you. Just got done. It's probably been 2 weeks, maybe pushing 3 in that range. First of all, it's probably a crazy day. It's probably a crazy fight week for you guys, especially having so much family around and you and, of course, Ben fighting on the same night. For one, how did you feel that week? How did you feel going into the Bellator cage? A huge spotlight. How was Maria that week?
I was feeling really good. I was just super grateful to have the opportunity to fight for Bellator. It's a really big event, and they don't really do amateur fights, Right. So it was kind of a special circumstances, and I'm really grateful they let me do that. A lot of people kept asking me like, oh man, it's such a big stage and it's like way bigger than, normally people have at amateur. And I was like, well, isn't this the goal in general? So I was just really excited to kind of get to that goal a little bit sooner. I'm happy to have performance we could do. My opponent would maybe miss weight a little bit. So that wasn't any huge surprise. Nice to have a husband. He'd be there regardless, like if it was my fight week or it was just his, we'd be together, We had a good team around us. It wasn't too far from home, same city, just different octagon. So it was really nice, like it was really relaxed actually. I was really, really comfortable. I loved it. It was good.
Very cool. How did you feel? Because that was your second Emmy fight, right?
Yeah.
How did you feel from like the first time going into it to the second time? Was it like, okay, I'm getting used to this thing. This thing's starting to flow a little bit.
Yeah, it was really good. It's really weird. Like my sparring rounds, I get super nervous for at home in our gym. Right. And I don't know if it's because we have like one of the cages that are raised up as well, like the normal ones at our gym. So I don't know if it's that and then everyone's watching, or if it's like, all right, now I'm doing this for real. I don't know what it is. But when I actually go into the fights, I'm not nervous. As soon as I start that walkout, I'm good to go.
That's awesome.
I know. So it's really awesome. Nice. My first one, I had the same experience, and I was like, all right, where are the nerves? Are they going to come? And they just never really came. So it was nice. I had a good warm up with our coaches. My sister, who she got to kind of be in the back with us a little bit. I got to warm up on her body instead of like a bigger body, which was nice. So it was good. You can't shoot her.
Yeah, I'll bring up your sister later. I absolutely adore her. She's amazing. Only known her for a little bit. We just connected right away. And then we just been at the same 3 or 4 events over the last 6 to 8 weeks. She's awesome. She really is. She's really great. When did you know, like when was it in your head that, great background of jits, same thing with your sister. When did you know, or when did that kind of light bulb, or was it one night in bed? You're like, hey, Ben, I might want to, like, let me try one. Let me try two. What was that kind of moment or that transition of kind of turned into an MMA fighter?
Honestly, it's been years. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. We've had Jocelyn Leibacher, who used to fight for the UFC. She actually just signed with Bare Knuckle Boxing. I started training on our fight team on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which are just ground and wrestling days, to help Jocelyn out because there was no other girls. There was no one her size, and they kind of wanted someone who'd have the patience to help her kind of learn jiu-jitsu along the way. And so our coach asked me to come in and train with her, and I really wanted to. And so I came in. I really liked the aggressiveness, and then so I trained with her, and then I would train with the other girls as they came in who were visiting out of town, and I really liked it. And I was always more aggressive than they were. I was maybe not the best wrestler, but I was more aggressive. I could always kind of come out on top, even though I was smaller. And so I wanted to do it for a really long time. And my husband, who we were dating at the time, and I was younger, obviously, like I was probably like 19. He wanted me to finish college, and he didn't necessarily. He's like, babe, I don't think you should do it unless it's going to be something you really want to do. It's for real. And I did, but I just never really pulled the trigger. And then a friend of mine was getting into it because her boyfriend was getting into it. And we both had said, like, okay, we really want to do this. Let's do it together. And then I ended up finding out like a month later I was pregnant. And so then I got pregnant with my first son. And then through the whole time, I was like, okay, well, we're still going to do MMA. I'd only been doing striking for like a day, or not a day, but like a month. And so I got pregnant, didn't really do it that much anymore because like my husband was just signing over with Bellator no, he was still with UFC. So he was still in camp. He still had like 2 fights left. And so he was really busy. Those last 2 fights were really quick back to back together. And then so I wasn't really training while pregnant. And then I had my first son. I was like, okay, we'll get back into shape doing jiu-jitsu. I won't be quite as nervous. There's no reason to jump right back into MMA. And then we'll start striking kind of afterwards. So I competed a little bit for a year. And then 16 months later, after I had my first son, I was pregnant with my second son. Right. And then I was like, all right, dang it, and then I worked out a little bit with him, but he actually came early. So he was premature. So we had a lot of things we had to take care of the first couple of months. So I didn't really get to train, but I competed right away after all of my kids, but I just kept getting pregnant faster and faster and faster. Basically, it was 16 months. I got pregnant. Then it was 9 months I got pregnant. And then it was 3.5 months later I got pregnant. And then I had this one. So I just never really got the ball rolling. And so finally we have that ball rolling now. We're like, all right, no more competing in jiu-jitsu. We're just going to jump right into it. Let's schedule a fight right away. That way we get back into shape. So I fought for LFA 6.5 months after she was born. And 14 months later, I fought in the Bellator. So
that's awesome. That's such a great story. 2 things. One, I'll talk to Ben if you want to. Like, hey, Maria wants a fight. Can we relax on the extra activity a little bit? Like, we want to fight. And then 2 is like, how did you feel like with your body and all of that stuff, LFA wise, 6.5 to now 14 when you had that extra kind of 8 months to 6? Did you feel a difference body wise?
Super drastically. So everyone always asks me why I didn't do jiu-jitsu in my first one, but honestly, I couldn't really train at all.
Right.
My babies are kind of a little bit big for me. So they kind of hurt my hips after I have them. I get this like pelvic disorder, sort of. It's a pubic symphysis disorder. And it basically is shifting the bones and stuff, and it makes the bones really painful. So like imagine crossing your feet around someone and then them pushing into your hip bones, in jiu-jitsu. So it was very painful. And so I didn't really do jiu-jitsu at all. I couldn't do arm bars. I couldn't do triangles. I couldn't hold my guard. Wow. In the first fight, I could barely pop up from the ground just because I had no like muscle. But since then, I've been working with a pelvic floor therapist. So she kind of does like from your top of your sternum all the way down to your hips. And I've been working with her a lot, and there's been a huge difference in moving and what muscles I can get going, and so that's been, I think, the biggest difference is I can train. She helped me, so whereas like walking was painful. So she helped me kind of retrain my body to walk the right way. Because when you have babies so close together, especially the last 2, your muscles change and stuff. And they're just getting pulled apart more and more, and your body's kind of going through the ringer.
Yeah. It's like I said, before we were talking with my wife, we have 4 kids. And she says it all the time. Like, I'm like, even like little stuff, like a laundry would be on the ground. She'll try to do it with her foot. I'm like, babe, just bend down and get it. She's like, no bending before 10. Like, the body's just not the same.
But what most women don't know is like all women should see a pelvic floor therapist because like things shift around and stuff. And sometimes your muscles just get so loose. If you don't retrain them to get tighter again and to get your abs to go back together, you'll lose it all. And so a friend of mine at the gym actually told me about it after my second son, because I just told her, I was like, I was always in a lot of pain after I have the kids. And I just thought that was normal. And I guess it's not normal. But it was a lot different. I was in pain for a really long time, and it just wasn't easing up at all. Like not training. I competed 3 months after all of my kids were born in a jiu-jitsu tournament. Every single one. And it was still uncomfortable with her though. I couldn't even train jiu-jitsu at all. So yeah, there was a big difference going into my second fight than my first fight, and so I'm just expecting to get stronger, faster, and better. You know, just feeling better, being able to use my body better. You know, so it's really exciting to kind of to get everything working again and just so it's nice. Yeah, it is a big difference from the first one to the second one. So big difference.
One thing you mentioned earlier, and you kind of said, I want to do this. I'm 19, 20, and Ben's like, hey, only if you're really going to do it, if you're going to go with it and be serious with it, yeah, let's do it. I would assume then, now you got 2-0 amateur. Like, when does that, do you guys have a plan or a tunnel or some kind of map to be like, okay, like 2022 or 2023, we're going to turn pro, or 2025, we want this, and this. Like, do you guys have this outlook, or we're still kind of early in that? We want to get back in there now, 2-0, and we're just building. We're building.
Oh, that's so hard. Honestly, we're in this really weird spot with kind of how everything just played out. Like, well, the original plan was Ben wanted to see how I looked this fight to see if we were ready to go pro or not. But this fight was so kind of quick. It's kind of hard to say, like, oh, he's like, how'd you feel? How do you think? I was like, David, honestly, I don't really think there's much to assess on. The camp felt stronger. My hands look a lot better. My wrestling with my striking got significantly better. I've been working with a guy named David Machad, and I feel great working with him, and I'm going to continue working with him. That was to fight another southpaw, so now we'll focus on fighting someone who's traditional, like kind of go back to that. So he's thinking, like, my coach would love me to have another John Crouch, another tough amateur fight, but I don't know if we're going to be able to do that at this point, and who do we fight for now? Will Bellator give us another amateur fight? Do we fight for a local organization at amateur off of fighting for Bellator and then kind of getting the hype off of that, then going lower? Or do we go pro? So I'm not really sure. We're just waiting. The next 6 weeks, we're going to be kind of putting on more muscle and stuff like that, getting stronger, and then kind of seeing where we are there, and then reassessing. I know my sister, who is my manager with First Round, she wants me to fight right away, but I'm kind of small to fight at 115. So if we go pro, we really do need that size. Those girls are going to be bigger and better.
Right. Yeah, they're coming from 132, 134 almost to get down there. So
right now we're like 3 weeks out, like you said, just around 3 weeks, and I'm like 119. So I need to put some weight on.
Yeah.
So honestly, we're like to answer your question, we will be going pro within hopefully in the next 6 months, maybe. Like, if we get another amateur fight, get one soon, and then go pro. Well, don't bite the fighter. So we before the end of next year, we will be pro.
Okay. Well, I'll let you go in a little bit. I love it. Like I said, I'm such a family guy, and seeing her, you guys are awesome. Kind of let me ask you a fun family question. Of course, with you and your husband both fighting. We say it all the time. We my wife and I, we always talk about it all the time. And my oldest son isn't really into it, but our 4-year-old, he's like, he's ready to take on Kamaru Usman. Like, he wants the welterweight championship right now. He's ready for it. What, as mom and dads, kind of, what happens if your boys go, hey, I want to do this. Like, this is something I want to do. I love his footsteps. I want to follow it. Or even your daughter, when she grows up, and it's a kind of a different thing. But would you guys be all for it, or kind of like?
It's a really hard sport.
It's so hard. It's incredible.
There's little things like in fight camp, like I jammed so many. Like, after having the kids, my joints hurt pretty bad, but my fingers, like, in my hands hurt so much. Sometimes it's hard to like open a jar or something like that, And then imagine doing that for years and do it while your body's growing. We don't really plan our kids to do it. Like, if they want to wrestle, they can wrestle. If they want to do jiu-jitsu, they can do jiu-jitsu. If they want to box, they can box. But they won't really have any boxing smokers or kickboxing smokers. But they can do it, but they won't be able to do it till later. They can wrestle now, but we still don't want to get them in it too soon. Only if, like, I want to do a wrestling class. Okay, let's go do a wrestling class. But we're not going to put them in it until they're older, like wrestling anyways. Until they're older. Right now they do swim and they're in gymnastics, and we'd like to get our older son in like soccer or baseball. You could pitch a baseball to him at like 1.5 and he could hit it with the bat. Awesome. Yeah. So we wanted to really like get him into that, but we're just so busy with our schedules that it's hard. But we really don't want them fighting. Like they can do other stuff, you know, like they can do anything. If they want to come back to doing it later on, they can do it, but they won't have any like fights and stuff, or they won't even compete in jiu-jitsu till they're at least 10 if they want to, you know. Wrestling, I think we're thinking the same thing, is they can wrestle, but we won't put them in until they're later. There's a really good school here. It's called Valiant Prep Academy. I don't know if you've heard it. It's really good. Angel Cejudo, Henry Cejudo's brother, is the head coach over there, and they have Eric Larkin as the principal. He's like one of the founders of the school. So just who's who of people. Yatsin Meza used to be a UFC fighter. He's one of my husband's cornermen. His kids go there. So, and it's a wrestling school. So we'll have our kids go there and like get them ready to go there. And they start at, I think, like 7th grade. So we might get them.
They just don't get the bug. They don't get that fighting bug, hopefully.
Well, I mean, if they do, that's fine. It's just if you look at everyone who starts when they're really young, they just get burnt out, you know?
Yeah.
And by the time they get to college, when it actually matters, they're burnt out, you know, and they don't want to do it anymore. So everyone we talk to who's like actually a pretty good wrestler in our gym, like we have Mark Martin, who just won at Combate. We have Bryce Mitchell, who fought for LFA. He's a really, really good, like I think he's a one-time NCAA double champion. And then we have another guy named Trace Elkins, who I think they said the UFC's looking at him for the Contender Series. They're all really good wrestlers, and they all recommended the exact same thing. Don't start them now. Start them later on. My husband didn't start wrestling till like middle school, I think. So like we don't want to burn them out. So anything they're going to do and they want to do it seriously, they can do it later. They can play in our sports now if they want to go jump class at the gym. But like I want them to know like, hey, this is for fun. This isn't for competition. And then later on when it's for competition, we want them to take it more serious. But we're going to try to introduce them into a ton of sports. Our oldest is like a fish. He loves to swim. So we like to, so he's in swimming. We'll probably put him in some competition swimming later. Gymnastics. One of our kids, well, this one and my last 3 are flexible like Ben. Like they can all just sit into the splits any which way. And so like gymnastics, I think we're going to be really good for them. So they're going to be in a lot of other stuff, just not necessarily fighting. Long story short, sorry, that was a long answer, but
it's all good.
Later.
One last thing, and then we have a 5 little fun questions. We call it Going Bananas. Of course, with your sister. How is it to have, like you said, she was backstage with you, to have that? She talks glowingly about you 8 states away across the country. Like, how is that to have this amazing support system? Like, she seems like she has your back through anything. It's incredible to have that bond.
She does. It's amazing. She's amazing. That girl. She'll work like she's literally was getting her master's and was working like 3 jobs. Sophia is one of the hardest workers and doing jiu-jitsu. And most people don't realize how hard of a worker she is because she has such a light, bubbly, like outgoing personality. Niley. People kind of, I think, underestimate how hard she works. But she is like such a hard worker. She is my number 1 fan. It's so weird because I think she is like literally she's like my number 1 stalker fan, my number 1 supporter. She's great. Like she believes in me more than I believe in myself. You know, her and my husband both believe in me like this insane amount. It's crazy. But it really is great. I know whatever I want to do, my sister's gonna help me get there and have my back, even if it like puts her like dead into the ground, so tired she's crying. She's gonna help me get it. You know what I mean? And that's amazing. And she's done that. She's literally gone out of her way, like got no sleep to help me. And like for the fight week, she was like driving back and forth between the hotel, and she'd go home to my house where my kids were, and she'd help my mother-in-law and our babysitter put the kids to sleep. And then she'd come back to the hotel, or she'd go to my dad's to spend time with my dad, and then she'd wake up at like 7 in the morning to be back at the hotel to run errands. There was an issue with a sports bra, and so she woke up super early the morning of the fight to go get another sports bra made. And she's amazing. She really is. And she's like super fierce. I think Sophia can be a much better jiu-jitsu competitor than I ever was. She has so much drive in her, and I think from what I learned, I can help her with that now. And it would be nice if we trained together. We've never really trained together though, which is kind of sucky, but yeah, she's amazing.
She is. It's so funny you use that exact line because, like I said, I've known her not for a long time, but like you can just say it jumps off the screen literally. So we take a picture with each other at every event, and the headline that I gave to her on my Instagram stories is like, Sophia is literally one of the hardest working people, not man, not woman, literally in the business. Like she is everywhere. She's doing stuff. We were doing so much stuff in Biloxi together for Game Bread Fighting Championship, and at fight weekends or days or weigh-ins, like we're out pretty late. You know what I mean? It's kind of part of the atmosphere, and we eat later, drink later, have fun late, and then like 6:30 in the morning, we're at Starbucks working. Like we're getting it. It doesn't stop. She's amazing.
My husband does not say many people are hard workers. Like he really doesn't. Like his standard of working hard is incredibly high. Like I feel bad for my kids because like it's gonna be like that's why we don't want them doing anything early because like we have a standard ourselves. You know what I mean? Like whatever you're gonna do, be the best at it. I mean, not even be the best, just be the hardest worker. Yeah, but my husband thinks my sister is like an amazingly hard worker. Like, and he talks about that all the time. He's like, God, your sister is such a hard worker. Like he thought about, there was a time where we needed a GM for the gym. And he brought up Sophia like 6 or 7 times to do it because like, she's just that hard worker, but it doesn't pay as much as she's getting paid with her other businesses. So it never made sense for her. But like he wanted it bad because she's such an eager beaver. Like she just goes. And I think that's why she'll be very successful as a manager because she's just, my daughter's stuck at the door. She's trying to get out right now.
Okay.
And she's just a go-getter. She just always wants to go and like she's just very aggressive. Like as an amateur, I turned down a handful of sponsorships, but she made me more than most of our pros make just in sponsorships for that one amateur fight, and some weren't even on the banner. You know what I mean? And she's still she's incredible. She's amazing.
She's amazing. All right. 5 fun questions. We call it Going Bananas. First thing that comes to your head. You ready?
Yeah.
Outside of MMA, what's your favorite activity?
I really love to bake with my kids.
Love it.
Arts and baking stuff.
What is your absolutely dream?
Oh, I love to read too. Okay, what?
Oh, what was your other answer?
I love to read. I can't read in training camps because I'm so obsessive about my books. Okay, so what you said?
What's your absolutely dream fight?
Oh, dream fight? Oh, wow. I mean, obviously it'd be, if it's in a couple of years or whatever, if I'm at my peak training, fighting for like the UFC belt or the Bellator belt at 115, I'd love to fight at 105, but so maybe fighting Rose Namajunas because she's considered the best in the world right now.
Yeah, I like that. Is she going to win this Saturday?
I think so. I think Weili Zhang kind of, no offense to Weili, but she went a little crazy. I feel like after her loss, like, she cut off all her hair. She changed camps. She was not necessarily making excuses, but like saying this or that, And
those are great points. Great points.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's just my husband, but like my husband, we've never had like when he had the UFC belt, we didn't have killers in the room. We had people who were fighting for local shows and he is still the best in the world, and still now like we have a lot of UFC fighters, so we kind of believe like just kind of trust in your training, you don't need to drastically change everything. But I heard Weili's never actually had an MMA coach. Like her coach is just a striking coach, so that's what I heard. So and she's working with Mindset Mike now, and I think that could be a really big game changer for Weili because he's amazing. I was working with him too, but I think Rose, even without working with a mindset person, she's very grateful for her opportunity. She doesn't need to be angry with her opponent to fight them,
Not at all.
And I think, like, if you just look how calm she was, like, before her last fight, like, saying she's the best. And she'll admit, like, there's a lot of pressure being the champion. And she's like, as long as she focuses on her, not focuses on her opponent, but focuses on her, she can get the job done. And I think that's great. So I like Rose. I've kind of been following her because I wanted to start kind of around the same time she was starting. So I've always kind of followed her. And I love Pat Barry. He's the funniest man in the world. So like I love Pat. So that's
a great team right there. That is a great team.
For years. They're amazing. So I kind of I fell in love with Rose through Pat, sort of, just like loving him so much. And he's a good guy. So I kind of always liked Rose and was rooting for Rose.
Okay, there you go. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live?
Oh, I love Washington. Washington State. I love Washington State. It's very pretty. It's green. Some people say it's too wet there, but I would live there.
Okay. What was your first job?
Oh, my first job. We did a bell ringer. It's like delivering papers. We
Yeah.
did that around, my sister and I around the neighborhood. We'd had to do it at night, and we'd like ride our bikes and pull a wagon and kind of deliver all these papers around. We also did some lemonade stands. I'm not sure which one was first though.
Last one, always a good one. Dead or alive, two people to have dinner with. Who would you pick?
Oh, dead or alive. Dead. I really love old like history stuff. So there's a lot about the Viking show, the Ragnar Lothbrok. There's a lot of in and out history about him that people don't know. So I would love to have dinner with him, because a lot of the stuff people say about him in the show is false. But I would love to have dinner with him. And then dead. I know, is that bad that it's not a woman? Is it?
No, it's your dinner. It's your dinner.
I don't know. Alive. I don't know. I don't really fancy anyone alive. I guess maybe Valentina. I don't know. She's super aggressive. I would love to kind of just sit with her and talk her brain, but not
pick her brain a little bit.
Yeah, but not like a show. Like kind of you know, people will tell you the answers you kind of want to hear and stuff, even if they don't believe in them. I would love to actually just pick her brain. Just sit down and talk to her, kind of like I know the fighters in my gym. I would like to see what her mindset is like that, not really a show what she says in front of the cameras.
Right. Maria, this was absolutely outstanding. Appreciate you, your time. Your family's wonderful, amazing. They're all beautiful. I cannot wait to see what's next for you. And Sophia and I think we're doing something in Pensacola this week coming up. And then we're all going to Vegas in December. So we'll do a FaceTime with you soon.
I bet you will. Sophia's all about that FaceTime in Miami right now.
She is. We got coffee and we went upstairs and we were doing an interview, and then I was like, I'll be right back. She FaceTimes me in 30 seconds. Dave, where are you? It's like, okay, Sophia, I'll be right back.
Yeah, she said that's a Miami thing. She said everyone in Miami just FaceTimes instead of calls or texts. They just FaceTime.
Yeah.
When they were at the fight week at Bellator, she FaceTimed someone from the office, and then another guy FaceTimed another guy from the office, and then they were all four FaceTiming people.
Yeah. Well, I'll let you go, okay? Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Bye.
All right, later.